You're listening to Let's Talk Pricing, your connection to the voices, stories, and strategies shaping the pricing world. Each episode, we go beyond theory into the practical, timely conversations that help you lead with confidence and drive results. Let's start the show.
Very good day, everyone. It's Kevin Mitchell from Professional Pricing Society here. And as we head towards the end of 2025, I want to give the PPS community, our members worldwide, and everyone listening in to our podcast and our webinars, a sincere thanks for your partnership. And I had the opportunity to interact with quite a few people at the PPS Profitable events, be it in Dallas in the spring or Las Vegas and Barcelona in the fall. And actually, I'm just getting back from our Barcelona conference where we had a huge crowd of very, very engaged pricing professionals. And we talked about a lot of the things that we are addressing in our daily jobs. I had the great opportunity to connect with members from around the world. And really, from my team and I, a sincerest thanks for being with us for a great 2025. And as you know, we have a lot of opportunities and a lot of challenges in the pricing discipline. And I always like to remind us that no matter where you are in your company, no matter what your company does, just remember that every dollar, every euro, every yen, every yuan, every peso, every rupee, every cent that comes into your organization has a pricing decision attached to it. These decisions might be made by you and your coworkers. They might be influenced by a competitor. They may be made by a customer. They might be made by somebody's gut reaction. It could be a government that sets a price, or it could be a lot of marketplace figures that join together to set a price. But someone or something somewhere is making a pricing decision, and that affects every cent of revenue that comes into our organizations. And of course, we use that for salaries, for bonuses, for reinvestment in our products and services, for investments in our community, and lots of other things as well. And for those of us who have this as a job, that is a very, very tough job. And pricing people, as we know, are often undercompensated, undertrained, underdeveloped, and underappreciated by those around us, be they inside our organizations or around us in any other way. And because of this, I encourage all of us to make sure to take advantage of all of the tools that are available to us. We are very lucky to be in a golden age of pricing literature. There are great pricing books that come out all of the time. So I'd encourage everyone to make sure that you are reading what's the latest and what's the greatest, from pricing thought leaders that are out there. Also, of course, our organization, PPS, has well over 100 online pricing courses, and we offer dozens of in-person CPP workshops that are available for our members. And we also can offer lots of webinars, podcasts, white papers, our articles in our publications, and the other things that PPS offers to our website. So make sure to take advantage of all of the tools that are available to you, be they the pricing software optimization tools, be they the latest AI, artificial intelligence tools, but we do have a lot out there that can help us do our jobs even better. But it is our job to make sure that we are staying current and we are making the most advantage possible out of everything that is there for us in order to deal with these difficult jobs, in order to continue to thrive and exceed expectations for our companies, for our careers, for ourselves, and for everyone around us as well. And as we come to the end of the year, this will be old news to those of you who joined one of the fall profitable conferences. But I started off our last two conferences with a completely true story that details that even if you think pricing is a relatively new thing, even if you were voluntold by someone in your organization that you're the new pricing manager, that in spite of all that, we do really have a long history of being pricing practitioners, of thinking about pricing and revenue management and profitable growth and commercial excellence as a way to improve our businesses. And I started off our last couple of conferences with a story that around 80 years ago, there was an Indiana Jones archaeologist type guy in the Tigris Euphrates Valley near Baghdad who found some 4,000 plus year old stone tablets. And these tablets had laws, what would happen when the mayor died, what were the laws around marriage and divorce, what were the penalties for certain crimes. But what's of interest to us is that these 4,000-year-old tablets, which we call the laws of Ishnuna, Ishnuna was the town nearest to where they were found, they included very, very direct, very thorough information that we today would consider a price list. For example, it said this is what you charge for a milk cow, this is what you charge for a bushel of wheat, and so on and so forth there. And this was quite a surprise to us because this predates Hammurabi's code and predates everything that we thought around when business would have involved. And I told a joke, and this may not be true, but I told a joke that if you look towards the end of the laws of Ishnuna on those 4,000-year-old 2100 BC stone tablets, it also had information about how when you make a sale, it's due to your acumen and your relationships and your skill as a salesperson. But whenever you lose a sale, it's because the price was too high. And these scribes that set these laws down on these stone tablets got everything wrong and should have had a significantly lower price in order for you to do business. That part might not be true, but the part that is true is that there is a 4,000-year-old stone tablet with essentially a price list on it. So what we do goes back a bit further than we would perhaps think in our normal day-to-day activities. And I would imagine that probably not too much changed in the first 3,800 or so years since the 4,000-year-old price list. But since then, we've had, of course, an ever increasing way of thinking about pricing and increasing emphasis on our duties and everything that we do as well. So I like to think that pricing has evolved from being a purely clerical function, someone actually writing down or chipping into a stone tablet what the price was for a certain good or service. And as we went through the Paul Hunt 5 levels of pricing excellence, perhaps there was a time when the highest level of pricing thought was being the so-called policeman enforcing that our prices did not dip below the cost for a certain good or service. Of course, from then we evolved to more of a focus on value or perhaps the outcomes that our goods and services delivered. We also are applying algorithmic pricing optimization and looking at data analysis to figure out the best strategic price inputs for our goods and services and much, much more. And of course, pricing is going to continue to evolve or may have already evolved in your organization to being a senior management function, a strategic function, basically a nexus where a lot of different disciplines within our businesses come together, be they sales, marketing, finance, operations. Obviously, pricing, when done correctly, should have emphasis and inputs and touch upon all of those there. So as a result of this, we in pricing have to be generalists with extreme specialist knowledge. That was a direct quote from someone at one of our conferences. So as a generalist with extreme specialist knowledge, you have to take a lot of different factors into play. We have to think about macroeconomics, microeconomics as well. We, in our current environment, have to think about tariffs and politics and about fluctuations in raw goods material prices. Of course, there are always ever increasing competitive dynamics. There is instant knowledge on all sides, on your customer side, on your competition side. And all of this comes into play, which adds really extra dimensions when we think about the fun things, the game theory things that happen within pricing jobs and within us as a discipline. And also one thing that I find very interesting is we are seeing that more and more Wall Street analysts or analysts on the street are taking CEOs, CFOs to task if their margins are not keeping pace with their revenues. We are seeing a lot more emphasis on profitable revenue management growth, and we're seeing a lot more emphasis on bottom line results instead of perhaps more of a focus that existed in the past, where your sales figure was the first, last, and only thing that you talked about. We have figured out that you can increase sales and you can increase market share, but to do so profitably is a very tough job. And that's where our skills as business people, as generalists with specialist knowledge, come into play. Because to do both of those, or to do the combination of things that fits best with your company needs, that can be very, very difficult, which is why we have to make sure that we are as prepared as we can be, and why we make sure to take advantage of all the tools, the team training options, the literature, the scientific thought, the pricing optimization software tools, the AI tools, and everything that we have out there in order for us to really make sure that we are doing our jobs as best we can.
Let's take a quick break. This episode of Let's Talk Pricing is brought to you by the Professional Pricing Society. For over 40 years, PPS has been the home for pricing professionals looking to sharpen their skills, stay ahead of market shifts, and connect with peers who truly understand the discipline. From live and on-demand education to conferences, research, and career resources, PPS supports you at every stage of your pricing journey. Learn more and join the global pricing community at pricingsociety.com. And now, back to the show.
So a lot of the questions that I've gotten from pricing practitioners around the globe, either at our conferences or in discussions or emailed questions, have been about, with everything that we're seeing right now, where does that put me and my department? We have these extreme externalities with economic uncertainty, and we know that nothing in pricing happens in a vacuum. I mean, one of the fun things about our part of the business world is the game theory element of it. When we move, there likely will be a customer response and a competitor response and a marketplace response, and we have to think several chess moves ahead in order to encapsulate all of that. The opposite of that would be what I and probably you and a lot of our folks were taught in Econ 101, the old microeconomics, perfectly downward sloping demand curve, where if you want to increase your quantity, you just decrease your price, and that's it. And it happens. It happens automatically. You can run a regression on it. You can do a partial derivative on it and figure out exactly how much you're going to gain extra. And of course, in a perfect world, that might be the case. But in our world, with all of these competitive issues, with all of these externalities, we really see cases where a lot of us try to drop price in order to stimulate demand and increase our quantity sold, forgetting that our competitors are sometimes smart as well and see our moves as well and might do the same thing. And therefore, we've unwittingly started a price war and basically hurt our entire business segment. So we've got to make sure that we do take game theory and competitive response, customer response, marketplace response into account with every move that we make, be it up, down, or sideways. And it's these extra dimensions that come into play within the pricing discipline that really kind of make what we do very interesting and kind of fun. And I know that we also have the extra concern about artificial intelligence, about AI, about pricing algorithms, about what they do, and basically about what they mean for those of us who are pricing practitioners. But a lot of us are thinking that we can now use AI and use the pricing algorithms, use pricing optimization software, all of these other tools in order to help us make a story out of our data, and in order to prevent some of the mind-numbing grunt work that can go into some of our daily jobs. And hopefully this will allow us to use more strategic thinking, to use a higher level of thought processes there, to basically use these as they should be used as tools in order to elevate us as professionals and in order to do more, to do things more quickly, to do them more accurately, and basically to improve our organizations that way. For example, if pricing optimization, if our data analytics, if AI can tell us, hey, how come A, B, and C happened with this move and not X, Y, and Z, then we can use that to move down the proverbial learning curve. And in order to really be more strategic leaders within our organizations and to be a resource within our organizations when we see things that happen within any moves that we make, with any moves that happen beyond our control, be they a raw material goods price, a tariff, or anything like that, we can really use our human intellect in combination with the tools that are out there in order to get a feel for what is happening now, why did it happen, and perhaps what might happen in the future, and how can we best position ourselves in order to take advantage of that. It's always going to be our job to be the nexus between finance, marketing, sales, operations, all of these other departments. And in order to foster those connections, if we can use all of the tools that we have to be that great resource, then that is going to make us indispensable no matter what happens moving forward. If we can use everything to become more strategic in our jobs, then that is how we advance in our careers, how we continue to do better, and how we move our organizations even forward, even more forward than we have previously. So I would encourage all of us to remember that, yes, if you have a pricing job, maybe that job is part strategy, part commercial excellence, part sales, part finance, part marketing. And we might as well go ahead and add part senior management, because sometimes we have to train people up the org chart as well. Again, going back to being specialists, but with very generalist knowledge, or I got that reverse, to being generalist, but with very specialized knowledge. Maybe it would work the other way as well also. And another concern with PPS members worldwide is what is going to happen with the pricing community as far as job growth, as far as positions, what's going to happen with my daily duties. And of course, there is going to be a lot of change with everything that's going on from a macro environment, from a tools environment. But the only thing that has been consistent with our jobs has been change. It just might be now that change is perhaps more accelerated than it was previously. So we all know that there are a lot of people who do what we would call pricing as a task, but these people may not have the word pricing in their job titles. And some of the things that we've talked about, it could be profitable revenue growth management, it could be commercial excellence, you could be on a product team, a customer success team, a senior management role, a market intelligence role, a data role. But in all of these different types of roles, obviously, what we think of as the job, the task, the important duty of pricing is central to a lot of those. And going back to what I said earlier, every piece of revenue that comes into your organization definitely has a pricing decision attached to it. So make sure that you can get others on board. Make sure that you can explain your rationalizations for yes, no, or yes, and, or no, but. And also make sure that really we are central to the organization as we can be in order to hear what's going on with every other different department, what we're hearing from sales about customer reactions, what we're hearing from our finance and marketing and operations people about other things that are going on as well. So I am convinced that there will always be pricing jobs, hopefully a lot of them, hopefully well compensated, well trained, well respected ones as well. But in some cases, as we go up the org chart and as we advance within our careers, I would encourage us to think more strategically and perhaps take into account and consider jobs that might have pricing at the center, but might not have the word pricing within them somewhere. So those jobs are out there. Also, sometimes I've seen a lot of CPPs and senior pricing leaders essentially write their own job descriptions that might be pricing plus, pricing and, pricing with, and so on and so forth there.
Let's take a quick break. This episode of Let's Talk Pricing is brought to you by the Professional Pricing Society. For over 40 years, PPS has been the home for pricing professionals looking to sharpen their skills, stay ahead of market shifts, and connect with peers who truly understand the discipline. From live and on-demand education to conferences, research, and career resources, PPS supports you at every stage of your pricing journey. Learn more and join the global pricing community at pricingsociety.com. And now, back to the show.
As always, we in this community have to be prepared for what's coming next. So I believe there's going to be a lot more focus, a lot more emphasis on the bottom line results and how we deal with all of this economic uncertainty, how we deal with all of these challenges, how we use AI and use analytics and use algorithms as tools in order to free us up for quicker and perhaps bigger changes in our organizations when needed, and strategic thought as well. So I, of course, would hope that we as pricing professionals are always seen as a resource, as a place to get information, as a place to understand what's going on from a business-wide perspective, not just a particular sales unit perspective or a particular product perspective, but from a big N, a big sample size, so to speak, of what's going on within our companies. And of course, I'm very lucky. I get to travel around the world, and my team and I do conferences all over, and we talk to people from all over. And pricing people with all of the challenges that we've had, we do amazing things in our organization. Business being business, in a lot of cases, our organizations will ask us to continue to do more and more, and that's okay. That is just a fact of business life. That is one of the things that just happens, and that's where I encourage all of us to move down those learning curves, to use AI, to use pricing optimization software, to use the literature that's out there, to use me and my team for your team training needs, to use others out there that are thought leaders, to network, to benchmark, to make sure that you have use of everything that can help you do these jobs even better. And with that, I want to thank the PPS member community. I look forward to seeing everyone in 2026. You'll see a lot more information from my team about some initiatives that are coming out around senior leadership, around advanced training, and of course, we will have profitable conferences and even more online training and team training options for you and for your coworkers coming up. But with that, very, very happy holidays to everyone. Please reach out to me if you have any questions or if there's anything that my team and I can do. And here's to a great 2026 to come. Thank you so much.